Today we are going to tell you about 3 military truths that changed everything. Number 1. The nuclear bombs the US accidentally lost. America's lost nuclear bombs, the Cold War mistakes that nearly ended everything. At the height of the Cold War, America's greatest enemy wasn't always overseas. Sometimes, it was silence. Behind sealed hangar doors and classified flight plans, the United States lived with weapons so powerful they permanently reshaped human fear. Hydrogen bombs. City killers. Devices designed not just to win wars, but to erase them. And more than once, those weapons slipped out of control. Between the 1950s and 1960s, the U.S. military accidentally lost at least 6 nuclear bombs in what were later known as Broken Arrow incidents. These were not training dummies. They were real, armed nuclear weapons. Some fell from the sky after aircraft failures. Others vanished into the dark pressure of the ocean, never recovered, never disarmed. One of the most chilling moments came on a cold night in 1961. A B-52 bomber broke apart midair over rural North Carolina. As the aircraft disintegrated, 2 hydrogen bombs dropped toward the earth below, toward farms, quiet roads, and sleeping homes. Each bomb carried more destructive power than the one that destroyed Hiroshima. One of them nearly detonated. As it fell, safety systems failed. Switches flipped. Circuits closed. Step by step, the bomb moved closer to a full nuclear explosion. In the end, only one low-voltage wire prevented disaster. A single component, never meant to be the final safeguard, stood between the American homeland and a nuclear detonation. A thin strand of chance. A breath between survival and catastrophe. Investigators later admitted the truth was even more unsettling. This wasn't a freak accident. The safety systems had been vulnerable all along. Human error, mechanical failure, and design assumptions had quietly aligned, without anyone realizing how close the country had come to ending itself. Even today, some of those lost nuclear weapons have never been recovered. They remain buried beneath fields, swamps, and unknown waters, hidden from human sight. No sound, no notice, just the slow, quiet passing of time. These weapons are still around us, silently, almost invisible. One wrong move, one broken switch, or a single moment of inattention, any of them could have pushed the world toward total destruction. Those days of the Cold War remind us that sometimes our greatest enemy was our own mistakes, our negligence, and the silent possibility that quietly lived among us. A thin strand of chance. A single breath. And yet, unbelievably, the world survived. Number 2. The U.S. military tested chemicals on its own people. Americans grew up believing one promise above all others: the military existed to protect them, never to experiment on them. It was a comforting belief, repeated in classrooms, speeches, and living rooms across the country. But beneath that confidence, something quieter was happening. From the 1940s through the 1970s, the U.S. military carried out secret tests on its own population, releasing chemical and biological agents to study how they moved through air and water. Cities went about their days unaware. San Francisco, St. Louis, Minneapolis, even New York. In 1950, Navy ships quietly sprayed bacteria into the fog over San Francisco Bay. Officials called it harmless. No one asked the people breathing it in. Within days, hospitals began reporting strange infections. At least one man would die, never knowing he'd been part of an experiment. Soldiers weren't spared either. Some were exposed to nerve agents or radiation during classified trials, told it was routine training. Years later, bodies began to fail. Cancers. Nerve damage. Memories fading alongside health. Most victims didn't learn the truth until decades later, buried in declassified files and half-spoken apologies. By then, the damage was already done. These experiments were real. The silence around them was deliberate. And for many Americans, the most painful discovery wasn't the chemicals in the air, but the realization that trust had been treated as expendable. A lesson that lingers, heavy and unresolved, whenever history asks who was watching at the time. Number 3. The war the U.S. military lost to nature. At first, it sounded like a quiet success, another classified mission buried in reports and fading memories. But in 1970, deep inside Vietnam, elite American soldiers stepped into a war that refused to follow human rules. Operation Tailwind sent U.S. Green Berets far behind enemy lines. These were men trained for silence, speed, and survival. They expected gunfire. They expected ambushes. What they didn't expect was how quickly the land itself would turn against them. The jungle swallowed everything. Thick canopy blocked air support, cutting them off from help above. Monsoon rains arrived without warning, flooding trails and grounding helicopters for days. Heat pressed down like a physical weight, draining strength with every step forward. Then came the insects. Mosquitoes carried malaria through camps. Small cuts turned into infections. Fever spread faster than fear. In some regions, more American soldiers were removed from the battlefield by disease and exhaustion than by enemy fire. The mission remained classified for years, but the lesson was learned quietly. Technology can dominate the sky. Firepower can overwhelm an army. But no uniform, no weapon, no strategy can command a jungle that breathes, hunts, and waits. In Vietnam, the United States didn't just fight an enemy it couldn't see. It discovered something far more unsettling, a reminder that nature doesn't negotiate, doesn't retreat, and never signs a surrender. That truth lingered long after the gunfire faded, echoing through history, mud, rain, and memory. Thanks for sticking around till the end. If you enjoyed uncovering these military secrets, subscribe for more declassified truths. Like this video to support the channel. Comment which story shocked you most. More hidden history coming soon. See you next time.